Greetings, BArcadians, and welcome to another edition of Gaming News Weekly with your hosts, me, Tabs, and my good friend and gaming bestie, Rich. Say hello, Rich.
Hello.
So as ever, we have a new show, roundup of the hot topics this week in gaming. 3 fairly juicy topics. It's a good news week, I would say. But before we dive in, we always talk about what we're playing at the moment. So, Rich, give us an account of what you've been digging into this week, please.
I think, unsurprisingly, very similar to last week. So, plenty of Valheim with yourself and one of our other friends, a friend of the channel, Andy, which has been enjoyable, tough in parts, and also Horizon, which I'm really enjoying Horizon. I've not actually managed to play it this week since the weekend. Played it the weekend. Been very Valheim orientated this week, but I'm looking forward to getting back to that. I think it's going to, I'm really enjoying it. What about you, Tabs? What have you been playing?
Yeah, very much the same. A little bit of Call of Duty with my friend. Yeah, I've fallen out of love a little bit in recent years with COD, but it's been a good way to reconnect with my friend, and we're enjoying it. We're enjoying it.
Awesome.
But also Valheim, as you say, we've been balls deep in that. We've really been enjoying that game, but as you say, it's a massive time sink and hugely challenging at times. Just to give you some insight, this week we've kind of gamified some of the progression aspects, haven't we, Rich? Because essentially we're sort of cheating. We've set up like a separate world so we can purposely harvest this resource, iron, and we've set up a separate world so we can then teleport it back to our main shared world just for ease, because otherwise we'd essentially have to take on either a big boat ride or build another base. So it feels a little bit almost dishonest, but I think because of the game, it's so demanding, you kind of need to take these shortcuts, and while it's there, we're going to make hay while the sun shines.
Absolutely.
So yeah, fantastic game. But BArcadians, let's get back to the news and let me kick us off with first topic. So, Switch Pro rumours reignite. So at this point, obviously, go on.
You've got in the notes that there is a special anniversary that we need to celebrate yesterday.
Oh, of course I have, Rich. Please take this away before I get too carried away myself.
Yes, so just before we get into Switch Pro rumours, yesterday, 4 years ago, so yesterday as in Wednesday this week, this is filmed on a Thursday, goes out on a Friday, it was 4 years ago since Breath of the Wild was released. And obviously, as you know, that is currently the best game of all time in mine and Tabs' and the channel's opinion, for what it's worth. And it's just a fantastic game. And anyone that hasn't played it, please go and revisit it, because it's just a masterpiece, isn't it, Tabs?
Yeah, I mean, a timeless classic, I would guess at this point. My missus is actually, she's playing it through at the moment, and I'm getting to watch all that. And I mean, it's still such a spectacular game. I kind of miss being at the raw end of it, though, when you're discovering everything for the first time. I really wish I could go back there, and of course we got to share that experience, Rich. So yeah, fantastic game. If you've not checked it out, BArcadians, go and buy it today.
There's something magical about watching somebody else experience lots of the things for the very first time as well. There's something really cool about it. It's that kind of game where there's lots of those moments where you're like, oh my god, have you seen this? Have you seen this? So yeah,
exactly. Really cool. So many hidden gems in there. And to segue into the first piece, Switch Pro rumours. Who's to say when this does come out, if it does, we might see Breath of the Wild 2 and a whole new load of experiences and discoveries to be had. But let's talk about the Switch Pro rumours, which basically at this point, I think it broke in, it's IGN have gone to print on it. Bloomberg, we've seen, I think maybe broke the news. At this point, those are massive publications in the games industry. This pretty much, I think, green lights this rumour as it's gonna happen at some point. And anyway, let's crunch into the detail. And this comes courtesy of Polygon, by the way. So Bloomberg published a report Wednesday with new details on the long-rumoured new, more powerful Nintendo Switch model, dubbed the Nintendo Switch Pro by fans and players. The outlet first reported on the upgraded model of the Nintendo Switch in 2020, though reports have circulated for years. According to the report, Samsung will soon begin production on a 7-inch 720p resolution OLED panel for the device. The new Nintendo Switch model will also ship with 4K ultra high definition graphics when paired with TVs, so when docked. Bloomberg sources said, Nintendo and Samsung declined to comment on Bloomberg's report, but Nintendo has repeatedly denied existence of the so-called Nintendo Switch Pro. Nintendo of America President Doug Bowser told Polygon in December that the company is always looking at how Nintendo can improve the gameplay experience, whether on the current platform or a future platform. And Bowser told Polygon that Nintendo Switch is at the midpoint of its life cycle. So, I mean, what do you think to this, Rich? Unfortunately, as we've just discussed before filming, I mean, I love the sound of this OLED screen. That sounds amazing. I just get the impression we're not going to see a big step up in performance, though. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it was quite interesting. On that discussion, you accidentally misspoke and you went, I don't think this will be, up to par with the PS4. And in my head, I thought, no, you're right. But you went, oh, sorry, I mean PS5. I feel like, I don't know. It's an interesting one. I think the OLED is a great move, and I'm actually interested in that technology and how that technology of a 7-inch OLED panel, how will that transport into other technology? It's really interesting. And obviously, with it being OLED, it's going to be, cooler. It's going to have a less power draw, so that's going to mean the battery will hopefully last longer. Will that mean that they'll be able to sort of slightly overclock the current chip to get a little bit more performance? Hopefully. My overarching sort of thought is, though, given the games that we see on the Switch, and predominantly they're not super realistic graphics, they have an art style to them more often than not, do we need a 4K resolution? Is that a thing that we need desperately for the Switch? Or is this to enable developers to port games to this that are going to utilize that technology? I don't know. It's an interesting conversation.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can see, I've talked about it in the past, but DLSS. So I think if DLSS is a thing and it's a modified Tegra X1 chipset that incorporates DLSS, well, I think that's feasible in terms of, producing this docked 4K experience. But yeah, like you say, what does that actually look like? Is the 4K just going to be a marketing spin to sell more consoles with a nice, popping OLED display, which no doubt will look cool? Or is it actually going to bridge the Switch Pro to games, maybe to like PS4 quality games that it can produce because of the benefits of DLSS? The thing is, you've got issues, haven't you, inherent to the Switch? Like, for example, 4K textures. I mean, we've seen the file sizes of modern games. They're massive.
Yeah.
And Switch has an issue with that. It uses cartridges. It only has so much internal storage. As soon as you start to ask developers to prepare for 4K resolutions, surely that means they're having to install much better assets in the games they're creating. And is that going to cause problems with the system? It's one that there's a lot of speculation, and it's very hard to picture it at this point. I was just hoping personally that we would see, to help it maintain relevance, as we've seen Nintendo themselves struggling to get first-party games out in consistency. That always means that third-party developers, indie developers, have to kind of step up to fill out that, the product on the system. And to encourage that, you need to keep relevance and parity to some extent with the hardware. And I was really hoping they'd do that. We may still see that, but obviously this report only really talks about the screen and 4K. But any final thoughts, Rich, before you take us away onto the next topic?
No, not really. I mean, I think price point will be interesting. I do really struggle to see why they would push for, like, if you put Breath of the Wild in 4K on your TV or HD on your TV, I don't think it would look much different. I genuinely don't think it would look much different side by side because of the art style. I just don't think it would. So I sort of feel like it's just going to be badged as a 4K console. Like, maybe unnecessarily. I don't know. Maybe I'm being harsh. Maybe I'm being too negative towards it. But yeah, cool. I mean, that said, I'm not saying I won't get a Switch Pro. But anyway, let's move on.
I would get one, mate, just to stop you there, but just for the OLED display. I mean, I think that sounds like it could really bring games to life. 720p, I know there's going to be some split opinions on that. Some people are going to be wanting 1080p handheld. But Jeff Grubb actually has tweeted today, basically giving some perspective to say that 16 inches away from you when you're playing a Switch, it's 720p is like retina display level quality anyway. You can't really see much difference. So 1080p in handheld is actually a waste of the computational headroom, if you like,
Okay.
and would just drain the battery more.
Yeah.
So he's saying they've made a good choice there. So chuffed to bits for that. I would just, at least give it a bit more RAM. At the very least, give it a bit more RAM, which again unlocks potential for other gaming experiences that we're not seeing on the Switch at this point. But enough about that. Rich, take us away.
Absolutely. So, Elden Ring footage leaked. Let's get into this. So, this comes from VGC. Fans have upscaled yesterday's leaked Elden Ring trailer footage to 720p HD. Loading. The video... I'm guessing that was a joke in there, Tabs.
I don't know what that was. I've obviously left something in, but yeah, carry on.
Yeah, I wonder whether you put that in. Anyway, well, carry on.
I was hoping you'd be so professional that you'd know that you didn't need to read that, but anyway.
I mean, you are talking to me here. You should know I'm completely unprofessional. So we'll carry on. The video below, obviously, of this article, published by YouTube channel The Lore Hunter, uses AI upscaling to improve the quality of the low-resolution footage which appeared online on Monday. It lasts 112 seconds in all, with the latter half of the video featuring higher quality video that didn't require upscaling. The gameplay footage shows a montage of familiar Dark Souls-style melee combat, boss battle against a fire-breathing dragon and a large sword-wielding foe, and a glimpse of a horseback combat in a large open environment. Interesting. There's no release date mentioned in the off-screen footage, however VGC understands that Elden Ring has already been delayed several times internally due to disruption caused by the pandemic. GameBeat reporter Jeff Grubb said on Friday that he heard the title was being planned for an unveiling soon. Bloomberg's Jeff Schreier echoed the comments, claiming there was strong evidence the game would be shown relatively soon. Interesting. I haven't actually seen this, which we discussed just before this, because I didn't hear about this and Tabs didn't share the wealth. But you have seen this, haven't you, Tabs? So what do you make of this?
I've only seen part of the trailer, and it wasn't. It was before this. They've created this fully formed supercut, which is in better, quality, because essentially it's been stitched together from varying quality videos. And I think a lot of people are saying just wait until they release the trailer. Don't ruin it almost by seeing these really poor quality supercuts. But yeah, the gist of it, I think, is it looks very Souls-like, and excitingly, it looks like they're perhaps bringing some kind of epic open world elements to it. Whether it is open world, I don't know. But as it said there, these larger environments and horseback riding, tends to suggest we're going to see quite a big map. So yeah, it's really exciting. It looked very promising from what I did see. Graphics look nice. It's great to finally see something on Elden Ring, because there's been quite a bit of interest for some time now. Let's just hope we do get the official release soon. Surely we will, if they want to show what the game's really all about and see it in its full fidelity. So
I don't know a lot about this. Is this a new franchise, Tabs, or is this a continuation of an older franchise? I don't know a lot about this game.
So I think it comes from the From Software team that are obviously masters of this Souls-style game. But George R.R. Martin's involved, if you recall seeing.
Yes, I do remember now, yes. I think
from a narrative, lore, world-building point of view, I think George R.R. Martin is the big name on board to try and really inject some some culture and some story into it. So, when you kind of take all that into account, and the fact that they're actually evolving the franchise or the Souls-like genre with these open world elements, they could we could have something hugely exciting on our hands.
There's a lot to be excited about for it then. It's got some really interesting pieces of the puzzle going together. And I am interested. I mean, we've recently played a Souls type game, haven't we, in Demon Souls tabs? And it was really interesting, but it does give you that sense of, hemmed in, a bit on rails. And it would be nice to experience that type of game in a massive open world where you can sort of go a little bit where you want rather than being very static in where you need to go.
That's it, though, and therein lies the difficulties because, how do you transition into that without losing some of that kind of inherent tension? The fact that you're hemmed in, you work in these linear, narrow paths, brings about a certain, it's almost like Resident Evil, isn't it? Those tank controls back in the day made it difficult to play. And that was where a lot of that, the high stakes sort of gameplay came from. So do you lose that in this open world format, or, are they managing to balance it out? But either way, we love to see games move on, genres break new ground. And obviously, if they can get it right with George R.R. Martin as well, we know he's a heck of a storyteller. This could be an epic game. So exciting times.
Absolutely.
But shall I move us on, Rich? Last topic today.
Go for it, dude.
So we've got Hogwarts Legacy damage control. So this comes courtesy of Bloomberg, and it's all about, of course, the upcoming game Hogwarts Legacy, which was delayed recently by a year. So the next Harry Potter video game will allow players to customize their character's voice, body type, and gender placement for the school dormitories, taking a stride towards inclusivity after several recent controversies stemming from comments by series creator J.K. Rowling that was seen as transphobic. Hogwarts Legacy is scheduled for 2022 release from publisher Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment Inc. and developer Avalanche Software. When players start up the game, they will be able to create a character that has a masculine or feminine voice, no matter what their body looks like. According to people familiar with the game's development, the people requested anonymity because they weren't authorized to speak to the press. Players will then get to select one or of two options, witch or wizard, that will determine the dorm they get placed in at the magical school of Hogwarts and how they're addressed by other characters in the game. Last summer, Rowling made several comments that were widely viewed as demeaning toward transgender people and denounced by many, including Harry Potter film stars Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson. The comments also rattled some people working on the game, and Bloomberg reported. As a result, some members of the Hogwarts Legacy development team have fought to make the game as inclusive as possible, pushing the character customization and even for a transgender character to be added. So a highly anticipated game, I think, for you and I, Rich, because we're both massive fans of the franchise, as are our other halves. We know, Harry Potter and the franchise has been marred in recent times because of at the very least, some strange political decisions that J.K. Rowling has been making. And we won't get involved in that, Rich. I don't think it's our place or we've got any authority to talk on that matter. But, it's good to hear that the developers are pushing for change in the games, are trying to create like an inclusive environment and culture, and, answering, I suppose, some of the feedback of the fans out there who likely have very mixed feelings on the franchise now. What do you make of it, Rich? I suppose it's a difficult one because, as a Harry Potter fan and as somebody who loves open world RPGs, I want to see this game be a success and live up to, a franchise that has meant a lot to me in my lifetime. I
think it's interesting. I think by sort of it's possible this decision may have always been in the game and it's just came to light that it's highlighting something that's happened, with J.K. Rowling. It might have been going this way anyway, but it's interesting, isn't it? And I sort of think, why not? Why can't it be like this? It happens in loads of other games. You can do this kind of thing in Cyberpunk. Loads of games are like this nowadays. So I sort of think, almost, why are they making a big deal out of this idea that you do these things? And the obvious answer to that is because of the controversy coming out of the comments that J.K. Rowling made. And I think it's an interesting way of distancing the creative product that this is with Hogwarts Legacy as a standalone Harry Potter entity in itself, you know, rather than being linked specifically to J.K. Rowling. I think this is a way of going, well, no, this is our lot. This is what we think. This is what we believe in. This is what our inclusive way of looking at things. And then this is our lot. And I think that's interesting. And yeah. And it's got to be good for all.
It's a difficult question, isn't it? Can you distance the product of art from the artist? You know, and I've got, you know, there's authors of books series I really enjoy, but the authors have come into hot water in their past and made mistakes. And I think it is a challenging one, but at the same time, you know, we're flawed people, aren't we? All of us are flawed people. I don't think, I would hate for it to spoil for many fans out there the franchise that I know has meant so much, not just to me, but to other people. It's become almost formative of our generation, and it has so much to offer, you know. There's so many beautiful aspects to the franchise, to the lore, to the world, to the fiction of Harry Potter. So yeah, I feel for the developers, because again, these developers, Avalanche Software, they're going to be pouring their heart and soul into this game, aren't they, to make it
Absolutely.
great. And it would be a shame to see it be dragged down by some of this, you know, bad press that we've heard connected with J.K. Rowling. But BArcadians, enough rambling from us on that one. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. It's obviously a very controversial topic. We'd love to, you know, chat with you about that in the comments, and we'd love to hear your perspective on it. But Rich, take us away, wrap us up. We've got everything else before we say our goodbyes this week.
Absolutely. So first up, we've got Universal Orlando's Super Nintendo World has reportedly been delayed to 2025.
Next up, we've got potential GTA remasters won't just be simple ports.
And they went on to say, and this is the CEO, I'm not sure there'll be a bigger part of the strategy. We've done differently than the competition. We don't just do port titles over. We actually take the time to do the very best job we can making the titles different for the new release, for the new technology that we're launching on. So very interesting there.
Hopefully that's true and he's not just buying time. Well, you know what Rockstar can be like. They take many years, don't they, to develop games, but very good ones. We shouldn't take that away.
Absolutely.
Thanks for picking up my baggage on that one, mate. So next up, we've got Death Stranding Extended Edition, close to being revealed, claims leaker. Exciting for me and you, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. And somebody else, Ryan said that to me this week as well, that he'd also heard that. So that's really interesting. Neil Druckmann says Naughty Dog have several cool things to reveal later. Whether later means this year or subsequent years, we don't know, but hopefully this year.
Yeah, I hope something comes soon. I don't like it when developers or, you know, Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, they say these things and you don't hear anything for ages, so fingers crossed. Horizon Forbidden West is still targeting a late 2021 release date, which you took a negative slant on that one, Rich, didn't you? Almost suggesting that maybe they're not that confident.
Well, it's one of those. If you were confident of releasing this year, you'd go, it's slated for a holiday release rather than late, you know, we're targeting a late release, this year release. Well, that suggests that they don't know for definite whether it'll be ready this year. That's my thoughts. But, and finally, we'll finish this week with God of War Ragnarok will launch when it's done, says the director. Bullish talk there. Yeah.
Love it. So, thank you so much, BArcadians, for joining us once again for Gaming News Weekly every Friday at 5 p.m. If you're new to that channel, well, and if you're a BArcadian, make sure you smash the like button for us, just to help us battle that algorithm on YouTube. Make sure you subscribed, you rang the bell for notifications, and like I say, drop us a comment, let us know what you think to this week's news. And I think that's about it. Another one for the archives.
Stamped and completed.